She's still in their car.
He's still in the car?
Yeah, we called the cops. Call the cops. Call the cops.
This is a really sad case. In March 2021, the police were called to a gruesome scene. An Uber driver had been splattered all over the sidewalk under the weight of his own car, which was turned on its side. Was this an unfortunate accident? Sadly, no. It was the doing of two teenage girls whose identities remain hidden to this day. I know, not a lot of teenage girls murder grown men for no reason. So let's explore the shocking case of the teenage girls who hijacked an Uber and killed the driver. It was just another day for 66-year-old Mohammed Anwar in Washington, D.C. He'd moved to Springfield, Virginia in 2014 after living his whole life in Pakistan. He was a happy husband and dad. He and his family decided it was time for a fresh start when they got a visa to work in the United States. The couple and their two adult kids came to Virginia, and for a few good years, they were happy. In March 2021, Mohammed was working as an Uber Eats driver in the Navy Yard area of Washington, D.C. He'd never really had any serious problems on the job, so he had no reason to be apprehensive, much less so when two teenage girls got into his car in March 2021. One girl was 15 and the other was only 13. Mohammed simply got their destination up on his phone and started driving. But once they got to a narrow alley, the 15-year-old pulled out a stun gun. The two girls wrestled Mohammed out of the driver's seat and out the window. But poor Mohammed did not give up that fast. He wanted to get back at the wheel for his own and everyone's safety. As this was happening, two witnesses started filming and realized they should alert the police immediately.
She's still in their car.
He's still in the car?
Yeah, we called the cops. Call the cops. Call the cops.
But the worst was just about to happen. The 15-year-old girl took over the driver's seat and pressed the pedal to the floor. Poor Mohammed was still clinging to his car, half of his body out the window. Within a few seconds, the girl managed to slam Mohammed against a street lamp and take a sharp right at full speed, making the car topple on its side and onto Mohammed's side.
Just an incredibly sad and emotional day. Mohammed Anwar's family weeping as they described him as an angel, just a beautiful and humble man who went out of his way to help people who needed help. That's what he was doing the day that he died.
Imagine learning your partner or your dad was killed by two crazed teens. What were they hoping to get out of carjacking an Uber driver's car? Did they really think they would get away with it? And how come they took off with Mohammed half out of the car? Honestly, it doesn't seem like these girls thought anything through. Few teenagers are staples of wisdom and maturity, but these two top the list. The consequences of their recklessness and lack of empathy are huge. Mohammed's family was in shock, and so was everyone who read the news. Even more shocking was the footage from that day.
She's still in their car.
He's still in the car?
Yeah, we called the cops. Call the cops. Call the cops.
And that's not all. After filming the moment of the carjacking, the witness heard the crash and hurried to the scene. He filmed as the two girls casually exited the car, thinking they'd just fled the scene. So the witness made sure that the girls were apprehended fast. Luckily, two National Guardsmen were in the area.
Hey, they stole the car. They stole the car. These girls. That's it. That's it. That's it.
As the men held them up and called the police, guess what the girls complained about? You just killed a man and you're worried about your phone? Disgusting. Mohammed was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late to save him. He was pronounced dead on arrival. Needless to say, his family wanted the girls brought to justice. But justice is always murky when the perpetrators are so young. As the police took the girls into custody, they looked at their records. Lo and behold, the 15-year-old girl who was from Fort Washington, Maryland, had previous charges. 3 months before this carjack, she carjacked another car. The girls were defiant and mostly concerned for their own welfare. They didn't seem to cry over what they'd done or express regret for killing poor Mohammed. Instead, They worried about going to jail. They were both charged with felony murder and carjacking. Both of them pleaded not guilty. Honestly, how can you claim you're innocent when everybody saw you do it? Hearing about the girls' lack of remorse and their outrageous plea, many people called for them to be tried as adults. But in the District of Columbia, 13-year-olds cannot be tried as adults. And for a 15-year-old to be tried as an adult, the court must prove they can't be rehabilitated. In the case of these teenage girls, the judge concluded she can be rehabilitated. So in April 2021, the girls were offered a plea bargain. Plead guilty to felony murder in exchange for dismissing the other charges. On May 11th, the 15-year-old accepted the deal. However, she pointed her finger at her younger friend, saying she was the one with the carjacking idea. Still, the 15-year-old was the one who brought a taser gun. She was also the one who took the wheel and drove into a street post, killing Muhammad. It's really sickening when someone takes an innocent life and then cannot accept responsibility for it.
A D.C. judge handed down the harshest sentence she could on the older girl in the attack.
The 15-year-old girl would spend 6 years in a detention center. According to state law, she has to be released when she turns 21. The judge told her it's incomprehensible how a child could be so unfeeling. When it was time for Muhammad's family to make a victim impact statement, his daughter said, "You did not kill one person. You killed a whole family. I cannot move past that sidewalk on N Street on March 23rd, where he lay, broken, while one of you was only concerned about your phone. You broke most of the bones in his body. No amount of years you spend in any facility can ever make you go through even 1% of that pain. I can never and will never forgive you for the pain you caused him." The girl just replied, "If I could take it back, I would." On July 6th, the 13-year-old, now turned 14, got the same sentence after she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The girl, now 14, needs very intensive services, Leibovitz said, agreeing with a prosecutor who argued that the girl, like her 15-year-old accomplice, should remain under DYRS supervision for the longest term allowed by the law. In a brief statement, the sobbing girl told the judge, "I never meant to do it and promised I will change." Because they were charged as juveniles, the girls' identities will remain hidden, unless one of the journalists who saw the hearings decides to leak their names. In a GoFundMe post, Muhammad's family described him as hardworking Pakistani immigrant who came to the United States to create a better life for him and his family. Anwar was a beloved husband, father, grandfather, uncle, and friend who always provided a smile when you needed one. All the Anwar family can do now is live with Muhammad's memory. But it is safe to say they're not exactly satisfied with the girl's sentencing. They're off the streets now, but will they learn anything? If all you get for killing a person is a few years in a detention center? Following Muhammad's death, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser tweeted a message with a video. Auto theft is a crime of opportunity. Following these steps to reduce the risk of your vehicle becoming a target. Remember the motto, #ProtectYourAuto. This sparked a big outrage. People called this tweet tone deaf and really inappropriate in light of what had happened to Muhammad. It was almost as if she was blaming the victim for not taking better care of his car. Natalia Antonova tweeted, "Horrible timing on this clearly scheduled tweet. And even if Muhammad Anwar wasn't dead, carjackings are a plague in DC. There isn't a lot you can do with regard to risk reduction besides simply not driving a car." Sadly, she's right. There's a serious carjacking epidemic in the US.
Carjackings are up 350% in DC, 126% in New Orleans, 537% in Minneapolis.
Shortly before Muhammad was killed, another dad in Chicago was shot when he tried to stop a carjacking. Dad? Through nothing short of a miracle, he survived the attack. But this is far from the only such incident in Chicago.
Tonight, our Charlie DeMar got an eye-opening look at just how much this crisis is terrorizing the city.
You could tell he was afraid. You know, he was all teary-eyed and everything. Some guys just walked up, with guns and told them, you know, to basically hand the truck over.
Hi, I'm witnessing a carjacking outside my apartment.
The shocking and, if you ask me, tragic fact is that lots of the attackers are super young.
Motives include joyriding and to facilitate anonymity while committing other crimes.
Joyriding? But at what cost? Is killing people or leaving them traumatized worth a night of reckless fun? No, it's not. And while the attackers are at it, many times they also rob the car owners and their bystanders of their wallets and phones.
A 27-year-old just walking to work here on Wacker near Van Buren says he was robbed, forced to get on the ground and give up his belongings. He says the same people who carjacked that man near the Willis Tower also got him.
That was definitely the same guy wearing the same exact clothes, same hat, he had the black mask on.
But it's not just crazed teens who steal cars and terrorize their owners.
All right, so right now we're waiting for some dudes to come through with some cars. We're gonna find out where they got them from and what they got planned for them. They gotta be doing, I would say, about 90 to 100, hitting those corners at about, say, 50. Crazy. Oh, that's real right now. He just jumped the sidewalk, knocked down a stop sign. Yeah, they getting out of here.
There are carjacking crews who literally specialize in stealing cars and driving them at full speed. And some of these people, well, they start really young.
Yeah, man, I've been doing this since like the age of 10, you know, driving to elementary school, cab vans, you know.
Where did the car come from? Like, where'd you get that car tonight?
Borrowed without permission. This is what we do, like, every day, 24/7. It's not just for this bread, it's for also the money, man, it's cash out.
It's pretty disturbing that these people never really stop to think about the people they take the car from. Even if they don't get hurt, it's their car. They need it to go to work or take their kids to school. Maybe they can't even afford to buy another one. And the sad reality is, many people do get hurt in carjackings.
Debris remains where 20-year-old Isaiah Samanuk was killed overnight.
In April 2023, Chicago came under the spotlight again after Isaiah was shot and killed in Bronzeville. Isaiah was at the wheel with a female friend in the passenger seat. That's when two men approached them with handguns and tried to take their car. Isaiah's reflex was to drive off as fast as he could, but the men proceeded to shoot at the car. Both Isaiah and his friend were hit. Isaiah was rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center where he was pronounced dead. His friend was shot in the foot and she will make a complete recovery, at least physically. One witness, Leandra Brown, commented, "What are you supposed to do? Just sit there and take that chance too? I would drive off too. I gotta try to save my family and everybody else, but it's dangerous. It's sad." Leandra said she was planning to move neighborhoods as she was now afraid to let her 12-year-old girl outside with her bike. This is the sad reality of brutal carjacking. It causes a world of pain and suffering, and the negative consequences are always greater than the attacker imagines.
My family's really broke up over this. My sister called me about 4 or 5 this morning, and I couldn't even understand what she was saying.
It will be a better day when people realize their actions impact others. What the two teenage girls did to Muhammad is proof that some people just don't think in these terms. They think the rules don't apply to them, or that others' feelings don't matter. It's worrying that so many young people can do this much harm to innocent people. If this is your start in life, how will you grow? Meanwhile, Muhammad's family and so many other grieving families are left in shambles, trying to make sense of a senseless act. Hey, thanks a bunch for watching. What are your thoughts on the carjacking epidemic in the US? Do you know of other similar stories? And do you think the teen's punishment is just? Let me know in a comment, and before you leave, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time, and stay safe.